a JD from Tech Aeronautics, which like American Airlines and Marriott International. He's got an outstanding story, and I can't wait to share it with you right now. Bob, bye.
And one on the same side as Delta. The Delta lawyers got to know me, and then they hired me as a lawyer.
What a compliment.
Delta's,
what a compliment.
Yeah, Delta's law department.
So they your legal skills. So why did the legal department want you to go to marketing? Were they not?
That was
there that was an issue.
Garrett.
Okay.
I'd seen some of the things that I'd done, so I had settled a big multi-district litigation, big complex case. I settled it, and then there was a lobbying effort that I directed.
Okay.
And Dave Garrett just thought, this is a guy who solves problems, and at the time Delta was losing money, so he said, why don't you go into the marketing department? And which I thought was a bizarre move, because I'd never had a business course, much less a marketing course, in my entire life.
And what did you know about pricing?
Squat. I didn't know squat about marketing. I didn't, I was a lawyer.
Wow.
Dave
Garrett
thought he was going to be a doctor for a long time. Yeah, exactly.
Garrett.
And that's where each person was responsible for 11,000 flights, and I thought, no wonder we're losing money. This is impossible.
Right, and I've read parts of it. I haven't finished reading the whole book, but I read parts of the book from department than the people running inventory.
Right.
And I guess you were trying to put them together
to
see how you could optimize.
Right. Matching the supply and the demand. How many passengers are going to be on which flight? It was very important to predict which flights would have empty seats. That's where the discounts needed to be, and which flights were going to be full, and that reduced the discounts because the late booking high fare business passenger was going to pay for it.
Right. So did you come up with a formula, a mathematical formula to figure this out? Is math one of your skills, your strengths too?
That's a good question. No, it's not my strength, but one of the nice things about my undergrad degree, I had some calculus, and so I knew this is a math problem, and I couldn't do the math, but we had somebody who was over at the jet base, PhD in math, working at the jet base, doing modeling failure rates for engines. And so I got some IT people, I got him, and I got some business analysts that were doing this, trying to figure out how many seats on each flight, put them together in the room and said, we got to solve this problem. So they really created the system that Delta then implemented that was worth $300 million that first year.
Right. And I guess you had to raise, was it $2 million for this special project?
Right.
Internally in Delta. And I think you promised them 200, it said in the book.
Yeah, that's right.
200 million gross revenue, right?
Yeah.
With the $2 million investment, and you did 300.
Right. So that's right. Well, actually mentally,
I think we could use you. That's what a return. So then, why did you leave Delta? It was to start the company because you realized that there was more money that you could make for other companies.
Well, I was happy. I was enjoying what I was doing. I loved Delta. It's great airlines, great employer. And I kept moving up the ranks at Delta, but I got calls from headhunters from other airlines, and I thought about it. But it was what happened one night was I was prepping for a board meeting for Delta. We were going to talk about what we were doing in the revenue management realm, and I was falling to bed about 2 a.m. and I leaned over to my wife and I just said, if I had any sense, I'd just leave Delta and start my own business. And she said, well, why don't you?
Wow.
And that was one of those
tipping point in your life.
Exactly. She had said, roll over, you're crazy, we have small children and not much in savings. And that would have snuffed it out.
That would really? Yeah. So it was just that moment, that one nanosecond.
Yeah. So we just stayed up and talked about it. We thought, let's give it a shot.
Okay, so your wife's got a lot of courage.
Absolutely.
She must believe in you, obviously. Yes, So what was, so that wasn't then necessarily a long-term dream, although you said you always wanted your own business, but it was a law firm. But now you're shifting and, with this pricing opportunity you saw, I guess you saw not just the airline industry, but also hotels and...
Well, my short-term vision, I didn't see that far. I knew there was demand. I knew we were doing things that Delta nobody else was doing, so I thought there are 200 airlines out there. And I had 3 calling on me to want to hire me, so I thought, hey, there's at least a short-term business. And so to show you how short-term thinking I was, I called my first company Aeronomics, thinking it was just going to apply to
airlines
and economics. That's right.
So how did you capitalize the first company?
Well, it was all bootstrapping. So
Bootstrapping.
from our savings and that's one of these tough stories. As you leave, I left Delta, left the security of having a paycheck and doing real well. And my family thought I was crazy because they knew I'd been promoted to Delta, and now I'm leaving.
Right.
And hoping that someday I'll earn enough to pay myself.
She said you should. Your kids thought you were crazy.
She did. But one of the stories I love to tell entrepreneurs is that the most important thing in starting a business is getting customers. That you got to have a customer.
Right.
And people, there were, because of the article in the Wall Street Journal, there were a lot of airlines willing to talk to me, but then talking to you and hiring you is a completely different thing.
Right.
Yeah, paying you money to talk to you is completely different from, come back and we need to talk to these guys and talk to these guys. And signing a contract and getting paid.
So the first customer, was that American Airlines?
No, the first company, my first customer was actually Air Canada.
Air Canada.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So America was one of those that wanted to talk to me.
Oh,
yeah.
They didn't
and hire me, but not not necessarily as a consultant.
Okay.
Right?
So Air Canada. So tell us about that first engagement.
So it was great. I mean, I did real well with Air Canada. Qantas was an early, and so I staying really, really busy. But another lesson for entrepreneurs is the lesson of cash flow. So within the first year, I've been working.
Right.
You're working my tail off. By the way, the other thing that's really interesting to I think when you talk to entrepreneurs, I worked hard at Delta. I worked really, really hard. And I knew I was a hard worker. I wasn't afraid of starting my own business. But when I left, I never set the alarm at 5 a.m. on a Sunday to get up and do work. Ever. I did with my own company. Yeah.
Wow.
Because
that's
there was
awesome.
work to be done.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So Air Canada was your first customer. You had other airline customers.
Yes, right.
Was American then eventually?
Later.
Okay.
Yeah, American, United, British Airways, all ultimately customers. Yeah.
And again, so they're basically hiring you and your team to go in and analyze how they could.
Actually, they were pretty far down the road already, so they'd kind of already figured it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And reservation systems then were not online, right?
Yeah.
In the 90s.
They weren't available to everybody. Travel agents had them. So so if you called, they'd have a res system. At Delta, and the major airlines had their own res system, and you could make bookings through travel agents, but you weren't able to just sit through a Travelocity or any of the booking engines.
Right. But in that first company, those first year or two, were there nights that you couldn't sleep, that you had? I mean, you mentioned cash flow, and I know you're in revenue management, but cash is king. So, Bob,
cash is
share with
king.
our listeners were there some moments there where you weren't sure that you were going to make it?
Oh, absolutely. In our second year, so we were really, really busy. Had a number of clients. I'd grown the firm. There were about a half a dozen of us or so. But these big companies are really, really slow in paying. So we had a lot of receivables, but we weren't getting the cash in, and we were calling. We'd talk to our people. Hey, you got to send us cash, etc. And we came literally within days of missing payroll. Right.
Okay.
And as we were a small company. I think everybody was a believer in me, but if you miss payroll, you're done. You lose the trust. Everybody's got house notes and just applied to airlines, but as it turned out, Bill Marriott had heard about what we were doing from Bob Crandall, and then Bob, and Bill Marriott had somebody call me.
United.
He was the head of
American. Okay.
Yeah, he was CEO of American Airlines. Yeah. And so Bill Marriott had somebody call me and come up to talk to them, and was the one who was going to get any money for them. But if we sell them too early at $2 a room.
Right.
So, say 4 of the 5 top hotel firms.
On a non-contingent?
Tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, but we were just charging them on kind of more of a consulting model. We didn't take our own advice about it.
We didn't take a piece of the
exactly.
fee.
Yeah,
so you didn't take your own advice.
That's exactly.
All right. In your book, there are a couple crises that you had along the way, and one you talked about. There was a big issue, I think, with National Car Rental. Can you share that story with us?
I would love to share that. So we were engaged with National Car Rental. They brought us in as I was writing my book. And so I'd had enough experience in the airlines and hotels, and I thought, okay, now this chapter, I went into to put a team together and solve these problems, and so I'm going to talk about this is the way it should be done. Well, what happened was right after our contract with National was signed, they were about to file for bankruptcy, and the board replaced all the senior management team and brought in a turnaround plan. But even that was just crazy. We had our team working nights and weekends and literally 24/7. I mean, they were just taking cat naps, to get this thing up and running. Unfortunately, we didn't make the 6-week deadline, and so their head came to me and said, "We're going to put you out of business. We're going to kill you. We're going to crush you. We're going to take we're going to take all your assets if you don't deliver." And we said, "Hey, you're going to get something that's worthless if we can't work together and deliver something." So we ended up 2 weeks later. We got the system up and running. We started managing. It was 50% of the revenues. We were increased their revenues between 10 and 15% on all those different locations. And that was enough to stave off bankruptcy and buy us some time so we could get get everything in, get the rest of the system up and running. So it ended up being a great story, but it was that close to being cataclysmic for everybody.
For you too?
For our firm too.
Because what would have happened to you? I mean, obviously the car company goes bankrupt, but
he's saying he would have sued us, and at the time we were a small company, and we probably could have gotten through, but it would have been such an incredible diversion.
Was this aeronomics or Talus?
We were still aeronomics at the time.
Aeronomics then, okay.
Still aeronomics at the time. Still relatively small firm at the time. It was tough. I mean, it was small. We were small enough. I was still working on the project.
Okay, got it. And so why did you merge with Talus then later? Did they
Well,
make you an offer?
We merged with a company called Decision Focus. Okay, and so for a while our name was Decision Focus / Aeronomics, and it was that was a mouthful. So we changed our name, rebranded ourselves as Talus Solutions.
And the benefit to aeronomics of merging with them was
they had a lot of great skills. They were on the West Coast. They had a lot of great technical skills that we needed.
So
and they had
it was people skills.
Mostly people and technology skills.
Okay, and they had a background in this kind of
they had done some work. Yeah,
okay.
They had done some work in this area.
Okay,
right. And so
did you? Can you comment a little bit how that was capitalized? Did you keep all your equity? You were CEO, right?
Right. And
so you didn't lose that?
Right. And it was we wanted to, and this is a lesson too. We kind of wanted to. I'd gotten to know the CEO real well, and a lot of mutual respect. And when we put the companies together, we just said let's do this. And it's kind of like a merger of equals. They were about the same size, about the same revenues we had, etc. And we said let's call it let's do a merger of equals. And so it was pretty much 50-50. We actually had some share valuations. Ours was a little bit got a little bit bigger valuation, but we went into the thing merger of equals. Well, one of the things that I tell my classes, business school classes, is that was one of the dumbest things I ever said. There's no such thing as a merger of equals. We were, and it was such a shame. We should have just put the talent together and really taken off. But by calling it a merger of equals, it paralyzed us. Nobody knew, well, who's calling the shots? Who's doing what?
But you were
where are we going?
Right?
Well, actually, I made the other guy CEO.
At first.
Exactly, and I became chairman because he was just great, smart, talented guy, one of the smartest guys I ever met. But he wasn't, even though he was one of the smartest guys I ever met, and this is another thing, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a great CEO.
Right.
In fact, he was one of these guys, and I'm sure you've met him before, so brilliant, he could see all these issues, see things I couldn't see, but it almost paralyzed him in making a decision.
So decision making.
Right. One of my strengths is that, I'm kind of naive. Okay, I'm naive. I've got a lot of belief and take a faith, and I look at the options and I say, okay, we're going to go down this path, and if it doesn't work, we can change.
Right.
But he just had to make the right decision, and it was so hard.
Forever.
It took forever. The world was passing,
Time is money.
And it wasn't just him. It was everybody in the company. They didn't know. In HR, what are we going to do? Hiring, recruiting. What's our model? Right.
Okay. So what happens? I mean, it was 50-50 ownership, right?
We ended up. Then I ended up taking over
CEO.
as CEO
Okay.
spot again. Yeah.
But you still had
And then we
50%
brought in
income.
a real CEO. He brought in
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're in
But
what
this
years
time,
now?
we're in the mid,
90s?
yeah, in the mid to late '90s, yeah. And by that time, actually, we were changing our business model to more of a software model, and I brought in some outside investment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you took some chips
Yeah,
off the
exactly.
table.
You're right.
Okay.
Took some chips off the table, and we brought in General Atlantic Partners, Goldman
yeah.
Sachs, Nora Mosley here in town.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's
All
great.
great
All
names.
all
Yeah.
great.
That was
firms.
institutional
Yeah,
equity
yes.
that bought out you and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other shareholders.
Right. Or took some
But-
piece off. Yeah, not they. We didn't get all out, but they just invested in.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you sold Talus when?
In 2000.
2000
So it was,
for 366
Yeah,
million.
that's right.
Wow.
Which was tough.
Why did you want to sell? Just finally
that's a
cash
good-
in and
That's
start following
that's
your
a
own
good
advice?
question. That because our goal was not to sell the company. Our goal was to go public. But that's one of those things. That's one of those dreams you have that you say, "Thank God my dream didn't come true," because going public in the year 2000, right? We had the big crash,
Oh,
right?
sure.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, and then
And it would have been a disaster being the head of a public company
Yep. Yep.
when you can't help the share price is going to go down. So
sometimes
timing is everything.
Timing's everything, and
Thank
sometimes
you.
there's some benefit to adversity. So.
Exactly. Right.
And so, what did you learn from adversity throughout this journey up until 2000? Because there's lots of lessons we talked about here. Customers are important. Hard work is critical. Cash is everything.
Yeah.
Be a good decision maker.
Mm.
But as a leader, and I think you told me before we were talking about culture, and I didn't realize this until when I was running companies for Dun & Bradstreet, how important culture is and values, because that's what happens when the CEO isn't there.
Mm.
And you talked about certain values that you had there, and now you've also transferred these same values to Revenue Analytics, your new company. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, that's right. Well, our core values are success, excellence, respect, integrity, and fun. And basically, we tell everybody, you can make any decision you want. We love the idea of giving people authority and accountability, but they have to go through a mental checklist of how does this decision square up with these core values. Is it
Right.
going to be successful for everybody involved?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Is it going to meet our standards of integrity?
Right.
They'll go, what would somebody else think about it?
Right.
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 Standards of excellence, respectful to one another and respectful to the client,
And so-
and fun. We got to have fun. If we're not having fun, we're going to go do something else.
Definitely. And how do you create and cultivate the values in that culture? How do you actually translate that into action?
We tell a lot of people, a lot of it's in our recruiting, the way we build the teams and the way we hire people. We hire people that already have these values. You can't hire someone who doesn't have integrity and say, okay, now you got to have integrity here, right?
Right.
So we have to hire people with those values.
Gotcha.
And on the hiring, I've got to say that one of the things that I think I did did best was hiring good people, getting great people to create the company.
Right. So
it's
they
all
drink
about
the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But one of the things that's very important for entrepreneurs, many people when they're hiring, they like to hire people that are like themselves. That they see a trait or quality in somebody and say, "Oh, I like that trait," etc. They're like me, and that is the absolute wrong instinct, right? You got to figure out what are my gaps, what are my weaknesses. I need to find people that aren't like me, that have some skill sets that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No, I agree with that. The wisdom of teams.
Yeah,
They've got to be diverse to be a team. And
that's right.
So all right, you sell Talus, and you decided you still had a lot of energy. You want to do another one. So you launched Revenue Analytics, and that was in 2000?
In 2005, yeah.
Okay.
So I sold Talus, and I was teaching the MBA programs at Georgia Tech and University of Georgia just a couple of days a week. I was actually mostly a lake bum. Yes, I had a house on Lake Lanier.
Right.
But my sons were the ones who had the idea for revenue analytics. And so they came to me and said, we just need to start this company. And we put together a business plan and got really, really excited about the fact that everybody, every industry, every company type of skills.
But when you were doing aeronautics at Talus, you were disrupting, well, the airline industry, the hotel industry, car rental. So is revenue analytics also?
We're doing a lot in the media space in terms of advertising revenues, right? And how do you price advertising?
So like inventory of advertising that's not being optimized.
Right.
Okay.
One of the things I'm really hotel rooms in North America, every night.
Every night.
Every night.
Analytics has a system that prices 42% of all rooms.
Yes. Which if you look at they're selling rooms a year in advance. That's 700 million. 700 million rooms a night we price.
Whoa.
And
wow.
And I know we're doing a good job.
Take a fee on that.
Yeah, that's right. That's crazy.
Follow your own advice. What is this? This is all it's called non-contingent fees. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of news about Uber and Airbnb, and we're all those industries have been disrupted. Now, are there parallels between what you are doing there and what's happening in the Airbnb, kind of the hotel space, and I won't say car rental, but taxi industry, transportation? Can you comment?
I think so. I mean, there are a lot of similarities, and in fact, I think it's going to be even more disruptive because what we were doing, with my previous company and now with revenue analytics is we're disrupting how they price what they've currently got, but the Airbnbs and the Ubers are adding so much more supply into the marketplace. There was an example earlier. Arne Sorensen, who's now the CEO of Marriott, said we are going to add 200,000 rooms to our portfolio this year. And then Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, said we're going to add 200,000 rooms to our portfolio next week. And that gives you some idea of the magnitude of the disruption. Right. So it is really crazy.
So you're talking about kind of transforming, disrupting other industries. Is there any threat to the business model of your company, Revenue Analytics? Is there another Bob Cross out there that could replace your business model with something new and different?
Yeah.
Is there a threat, in other words?
Absolutely. There's always a threat. Yeah. Only the paranoid survive, right, to quote Andy Grove. You've always got to be looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
But what I love about our company, first of all, the business is never going to go out of fashion because growing top line revenues is just something every company is going to need to do.
Right.
Now there are people that what we do sounds like big data and predictive analytics, and those become buzzwords. So we have to differentiate what we do from all these showing our success stories. So we'll go into a company and they'll say, oh yeah, well we've got a big data initiative and predictive. Right. And I said, well, how much money have you made off of it yet? Well, we really haven't quantified it yet. Well, if you're doing it right, you're going to see between 2 and 7% growth on your top line revenues. And if you don't see that, then you better hire us.
So you quantify.
Yes, we quantify
the value add, the revenue analytics brings to each client. Okay,
that's right.
And do your clients allow you to share that data with
some do,
some don't. Yeah.
Some do, yeah. Some are really proud of them. They will talk about it, but unfortunately, a lot won't.
Wow.
Because they see it as a competitive advantage.
Yeah. Is it difficult now turning over the leadership to your younger sons? Is it,
It really hasn't been at all. I'm really, proud. Of course, first of all, we've got a really great team. It's not just my sons. We've got a fantastic CEO, head of sales, business development. You're strong partners, in different industry verticals. But I do have to brag on my sons because they're great. I think my son Dax, who's our CEO, he's just a better CEO than I ever was. He just is. And my son Zachary is over our consulting practice group, and he's just a better consultant than I ever was. And to see those guys and see the way they've grown and now they're running the business is something that I can't tell you how proud I am.
So
that's been easy.
What's next for Bob Cross? I know you're wearing a beard now. It's new, but it looks like Ernest Hemingway. Maybe is there another book here in the future? Is there a book? Or is it the beach?
That's
Or
right.
is it another business?
Yeah, don't get used to the beard. I'm not sure that's going to last, but it may make me more interesting. Right?
You're already fascinating. But what is next? You're too young to retire. You're not going to retire.
I'm so happy. I just love where I am
Okay.
in my stage of life. I got to tell you, Mike, I love it. I love the company. I love being involved. So I'm staying involved, even though I'm chairman now and not actively involved in day-to-day management. It's really fantastic. I still love teaching, so I'm still teaching, ad hoc teaching at UGA and
Okay.
at Georgia Tech, and I've got 5 grandkids who are wonderful. I love spending time with the grandkids, and
so it's teaching, sharing kind of the lessons that you've learned along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any final words for our listeners about some of the lessons that you learned in building these different companies and what you're doing now?
You know, I think the only lesson that I would have is that it gets back to perseverance, believing in yourself.
Yep.
Is perseverance, sticking with it, never lose sight of the end objective, but being able to realistically assess where you are. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they go in too optimistic. They're optimistic, and
Right.
optimism's not going to sustain you. Hope is not.
And you need a little bit of paranoia.
You need a little bit of
Not
paranoia.
too much,
Realistic,
right,
yeah.
right.
Just a realistic assessment.
Yeah, and a great team.
Yeah, and a great team.
Well, Bob, this has been fascinating. We really appreciate these powerful stories of how you pursued really a radical approach to pricing starting decades ago. And I think the lessons here for strategic thinking, marketing, and disrupting industries are really timeless and built on pretty simple but ever-changing models of supply and demand that you've discussed here. And in fact, I'd like to attend one of your classes, one of your lectures. You're going to have to let me know when you speak.
I'll let you know.
So, but we look forward to the next company.
Thank
And I don't think you're going to stop here, and we want another book out of you, too, before we're done.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Thanks again for having me on.
Thank you, Bob. Okay.
Well, that was fun.
I get a little
wound up, and I can't stop talking.
I could have gone on for another half an hour.
I'm so excited about what we do, as you can tell.
I could have gone on more.
Good.
So, anyway.
You couldn't hear the radio in the background, could you? The radio
There's a
station?
radio? No.
Okay, you can't hear it, yeah.
Which radio?
That's what I was saying beforehand. It's very slight, and it's actually just internal, so it's not on the recording yet.
So it's not going to be.
You gotta figure out how to get that out of your headphones, right?
Well, because we reconfigured everything, yeah. So we're gonna.
So it's some station, local station
yeah,
or
it's
something?
picking up, and it's only.
Really? Will that be blocked out?
Yeah, you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
hear it on the recording.
Yeah, the
but you
podcast.
can hear it like when you're talking.
Uh-huh.
At the very beginning when it was quiet, you could hear it.
I couldn't. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
No, you didn't hear it either. Okay.
I think maybe it's just voices in your head, yeah, Craig. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's,
Yeah. That was
That was
awesome.
fun. I could have
That
gone
was
on.
fun, yeah.
I got to go to one of your classes. Seriously,
Well,
do you ever get to bring guests in?
you take some photos?
Well, I'll let you know. Yeah, I teach a lot of groups. I think the one you would really enjoy is I teach a leadership class or
Oh,
guest
yeah.
lecture at a leadership class. Do you know
Yeah.
Pat?
Yeah,
Fitter?
we're just.
Yeah,
You Pat?
I know who he is. I've never met him. I've heard of him.
He
He's like
teaches this great
probably in the
class.
70s or 80s
Yeah,
now.
he
He
teaches at
teaches at
Yeah.
Tech.
He teaches at UGA.
Oh, UGA.
And it's a leadership class, and he has, he was
very
He was
cool.
in
head of
church,
hydrogen,
wasn't he?
head of hydrogen struggles.
Yeah.
He's the guy who actually still got public.
Right.
But he has this class, and he brings in CEOs, so it's a really cool class. So it's honors undergrad, it's grad, MBAs, and it's law schools. And you get 70 people to his class. But then he has all these different CEOs come in and just share their experiences.
I would love to. If you could get
Yeah.
UGA here in Atlanta or
Well, it's in
Athens. Okay.
That's very cool.
Well, you were
And
great.
you don't ever have to
You were great.
touch a camera because before we have camera guys here,
I think
and,
so.
and there's
So you got
other
your intern
You don't want
lost
to
his job.
be
with
probably.
technology.
Keep
right?
going. Yeah, exactly.
Somewhat, yeah.
Keep going.
But
Well, maybe
so we
Zach.
can
Then
do
maybe,
a podcast
yeah.
like that. Just pick up that person.
So we'll
That's really
convert
cool.
this
Yeah,
to
and then like I said,
podcast.
we
We'll send
do
you the
this
link
and then slide it over.
We put it
That's
on our
awesome.
website. He does it on
And
the
this is what you're
channel
monitoring.
website, and then
And then it creates all the
I want to be able to
whatever you
put
want.